Welcome to SchezzWho, your top spot for politics. My role in providing great political content requires your participatory role as a viewer. So like this video, comment below your opinions, ask questions, and subscribe to the SchezzWho channel. Now what I want to do now is go over to that which keeps this channel running along, beginning with Mr. Farley Perkins at the Farley Perkins Agency. So hit up 757-271-6655 if you have local insurance needs. Speaking of local, if you're in the mood for sweet treats like a shake or some ice cream, head on down to Old Town Portsmouth, specifically ELG Sweet Boutique on High Street. They have some great stuff down there. You'll like it. But if you're feeling just some good old-fashioned Southern food, head on over to Ellen's Homestyle and Barbecue Express. There are two locations. If you're in Virginia Beach, head over across from Regent University. You'll find one there. And if you're here in my city of Portsmouth, head on over to Portsmouth Boulevard and you'll find an Ellen's Homestyle and Barbecue Express. Now, if you need some help with credit fixes or tax resolutions, private money concerns, debt consolidations, hit up Positive Vibes Incorporated and Mr. Seiko Varner. He will help you out. 757-932-0177 will get you there. And if you're just in the mood for finding great Black-owned businesses in Hampton Roads, Mr. Seiko Varner, created the Hampton Roads Green Book. Download that application to help you out on that as well. And also look forward to future Black Swan podcast, hosted by my awesome, lovely wife, Andrea Dixon-Chesviner. New episodes looking to drop very soon. Now, tonight, I'm going to be interviewing a candidate in Chesapeake. I've been wanting to do a lot more stuff in Chesapeake, so I can't wait to have her on shortly. But I do want to touch on this. See, I'm going to share the screen with a CNN News article. President Trump, on Sunday, escalated his call for the Washington Commanders to change their name back to the Redskins, threatening to restrict the NFL team's stadium deal if they don't do that, though it's unclear how he would be able to do so. I may put a restriction on them if they don't change their name back to the original Washington Redskins and get rid of the ridiculous moniker Washington Commanders. I won't make a deal for them to build a stadium in Washington. The team would be much more valuable, and the deal would have much more excitement for everyone, Trump wrote on Truth Social. The organization left Washington for Landover, Maryland in 1997, but D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and the team announced a deal in April to bring the Commanders back to the district at the site of the old RFK Memorial Stadium. Trump touted the deal at the time, but the proposal is stalled before the D.C. Council. I bring it up for this particular reason. Look at Trump in October of 2013 when Obama was president. At the time, Trump tweeted, "President should not be telling the Washington Redskins to change their name. Our country has far bigger problems. Focus on them, not nonsense." And that just reminds me that we have a nonsense president doing nonsense things. And you see that even he could argue against himself on something as trivial as the Washington Commanders. All right, now I'm going to bring on my special guest tonight. She's in Chesapeake. She is running for the Commissioner of the Revenue position, and her name is Jennifer Naperala. Let's bring her on right now. How are you this evening, ma'am?
I am doing well, Conrad. Thanks so much for having me on. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. I thought that it might rain a little bit. I just haven't seen any of the storms come through, so maybe it won't rain. Hopefully it'll stay nice and chill the rest of the evening.
Agreed.
So, you're running for the Commissioner of the Revenue position, and I am glad to have you on because I originally met you last year, and I learned a bit about you. You were running for office at the time. But before we get to that and some other things, how about you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your education, your political activism, everything that comes to mind in terms of politics?
Sure. So, like you said, I'm Jennifer Naperala. I've been teaching in Chesapeake for the last almost 25 years. I'm an English teacher. I have a master's in education. And what got me, honestly, I'll talk a little bit about my job also. I love my job. I love teaching. I love teenagers. I think that surprises some people, but honestly, it just keeps me energized and keeps me focused on stuff that's important, which is what world these kids are going to wind up in after those of us who are grown are gone. So what really got me into politics, outside of just making sure that I had a nice, safe classroom where kids could express themselves, one of my daughters, when she was in high school, was dating this fantastic young man who happened to be Black. And the child faced a situation that, to me, it was unfathomable. It was one of those situations where you hear it, and as a Caucasian person, you think, oh, that can't be true. They're exaggerating. But because I was so close to the situation, I knew that it was true. And I knew that all of a sudden, what I thought was true about the world was not true. So I then got into researching disparity rates among discipline that Black students face versus all other students, educational opportunities. And the list just went on. And I realized that coming into school, a lot of Black students face challenges that white students do not face, or Caucasian students, or other students. So that kind of got me focused on equity in the classroom. But then the more I researched, the more I realized that these inequities are all over the place, and they just kind of infiltrate the system without us even being aware of them. So that's what brought me out of the school system and into the city. So for the last few years, I've really been focused on the voting. We have at-large voting in Chesapeake, which is really biased. It's it's actually illegal at the state and federal level because it is so biased. But Chesapeake is one of the few localities that still holds on to this kind of archaic method of voting. And ultimately that disenfranchises a lot of our voters. So the voting system is really what got me out into the streets outside of the school system. And then I just have kind of, the more you're active, the more opportunities you have to do good things. So I just kind of am happy to jump at anything that I'm offered. Most recently, I'm sure you're aware, on July 15th, City Council voted this. So like culminating my most recent frustration is this decision that City Council made to allow Virginia Natural Gas to place a compressor station in the Crestwood area, which is within a mile of a school. It's within a mile of neighborhoods. It's within a mile of people's workplaces. But their presentation, which they were permitted by City Council to present twice, and it actually came up 3 times, the City Council ultimately passed it. So that is my current objective right now, is just trying to get that sorted out and try to find out what happened and how we can correct it. We have one final public comment session at, Virginia SCC, I believe, is taking public comments until August 5th. So I've been encouraging everyone I can reach out to submit a public comment in opposition to this proposal. But what I did this morning was I contacted the city clerk, and she procured for me a list of all the speakers who were supposed to be given opportunity to speak on the 15th, because the mayor for that meeting decided to suspend the normal rules of order, which, as long as I've been involved, I've never seen this happen. So he cut speakers down to 1 hour, and they alternated the order of speakers. So it was 1 in favor of the proposal, 1 in opposition, 1 in favor, 1 in opposition. So I requested the speaker list and realized there were, let me see, I know I wrote it down. Okay, there were 73 speakers scheduled to speak. 51 of them were in opposition, and every single one of them was either speaking for themselves or on behalf of a civic league. There were 22 who supported it, and of those 22 in support, 21 were either employees of Virginia Natural Gas or some other related business entity. And now the record, which is super frustrating to me shows a balance of people who are in favor of it and in opposition to it simply because they stack the deck for Virginia Natural Gas. Normally, you speak in the order that you register. I've never seen it like this before. So there were, however many of us who never got an opportunity to speak. And the record looks like it was a real tight race between the pros and the cons. So anyway, short question, long answer. I truly enjoy making things better. I just really enjoy it. So what I'm doing is I feel like it's good. It's good for everyone, including me.
And you mentioned a couple things that come to my mind because A, we have a mutual friend in Chesapeake, Mr. Jeff Staples.
Mm-hmm.
Follow him. He's run many a times for office. Great dude. He had shared something along the lines that it was like the death of democracy in the city of Chesapeake.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine he would share very similar political opinions to what's going on, but also just the action of the government added another layer to what is considered borderline corrupt, if not outright corrupt. And I'm thinking of some other things like Chesapeake is a purely at-large system, if I recall. Mm-hmm. And currently, the city that I'm from, even though not now, because I live in Portsmouth, which is also a purely at-large system, mm-hmm. from Virginia Beach, which had that crazy hybrid system up until 2022. And then after that was thrown out for violating the Voting Rights Act, they instilled the 10-1, which is now on news because that's what is big in their city this year, is to enshrine that via public referendum. District voting has benefits that I'm sure you could touch on if you wanted to. Because I'm reminded of when you were running last year and a couple of other candidates were touching on certain neighborhoods that seemed like they had been completely iced out of Chesapeake to anything that is considered good governance, any good services. It is mainly focused in on other parts. This is the type of stuff that would be more beneficial if the people who are in those neighborhoods, I'm forgetting them now, that is my mistake, that if they had their voice to have a direct representative, then they could have a stronger voice in city government. To which case, I think you might second that. And if that area of Chesapeake, which is going to have this natural gas compressor station, I'm also thinking of the subject of environmental justice.
Yes.
And those are things I'm sure you could touch on if you want to have the floor on that.
Sure, I would be happy to. Yes, if we went to district voting, those folks would at least have more of a fighting chance than they do now. So at large voting, imagine a pie. There are no slices in the pie if you have at large voting. You just elect people that you like. It doesn't matter where they live in the pie. So as it stands now, most of our representatives live in the Great Bridge area or the Greenbrier area. I think we might have one down by Indian River. But otherwise, the rest of the city is unrepresented by someone that they can reach out to, who they can relate to, who recognizes what their community needs are. So you're exactly right. The compression station is slated for, the Crestwood area. It's a high Black population, higher than average low income population, mostly people who are consistently marginalized. And Chesapeake has not done any of those folks any favors, nor have they done democracy any favors, or even the people who live in the area that does have service, because they are, in my opinion, those folks are receiving benefits or receiving more attention than they should legally be allowed.
Yeah, especially because they regimented it to just 1 hour. And they gave it an exact even though I think you said it was over 70 people who wanted to speak up against it. And it was like 2 for, 2 against or something like that. And it just made it seem to someone who might not know that the sides are even, when it is not. In the mindset of a voter, and those are the ones who go to speak to council or voters, that they are strongly against. But when you have people who are in power they get there through an at-large system, and it's easier to have certain sections of Chesapeake's voting power diluted via the at-large system. That means the power of the money is
Exactly.
even stronger in an
Exactly.
at-large system. So it's sort of like they're not going to, even if they allowed all 74 people up to speak, they will sit there, let them do that, and then come out on the other side for the 2 to 3 people who were for it.
Yep.
Because those are the ones who sent the money
Mhm.
to line the pockets, to which case, once again, we're going to have what is more valuable, the voting populace or dollars in your campaign bank account. And that could be something down the line that Chesapeake folks, I really hope, learn about very soon for
Mhm.
that issue. And of course, for the rest of the campaign going into November, because you're a candidate just like you were last year. And which leads me to my next prepared question. Um, Last year, you ran for city council. So this would have been a wholly different type of section of the government. You'd be doing policy as opposed to government services. What did you learn when you decided to step up from just, say, being a teacher and wanted to run to represent people, albeit at large, in Chesapeake? What did you learn the most?
Well, one thing that I learned that was I kind of expected, but it was still kind of a bummer to live through it, was I do not believe that, at least in an at-large system, an independent candidate has any chance of winning. The city is too big and there's too much ground to cover. So the Democratic Party actually reached out to me and asked me to think about one of these constitutional offices. So I reviewed them, and honestly, the Commissioner of Revenue really was exciting to me because as a teacher, I have been making everything out of nothing for the last 25 years. So I this is obviously on a bigger scale, but my focus, it's a nonpartisan issue or a nonpartisan position because it is a constitutional office, so I represent everybody, which everybody should anyway, but um my focus will be on protecting, especially in the face of all this uncertainty at the state and national level. We have to make sure that we are protecting our citizens and our small business owners here in Chesapeake, because otherwise, with the loss of grants that are coming down, it's a scary time. So my focus really is going to be on kind of battening down the hatches and not ever trying to look at the citizens as a source of revenue to make up for what we're missing from up above.
All right. All right. Now, my next few questions are going to be based on a little bit of research on things that you're running on
Okay.
this year as opposed to last year. And this will give me the chance to hit up the share screen to have on your website here. So I want folks to be able to see that shortly. Let me get through this StreamYard link here to the share screen of capturing a different screen. Give me one more second because it's hitting a little delay on me. I believe we've got it.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead now and share the website, which is jenniferknapp.com. And some of my upcoming questions are going to be based from that. So
Okay.
this leads to you're running for commissioner of the revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the website, and your leading plank is transparency. So I'm curious, where do you think Chesapeake is lacking, and how do you want to fix it when it comes to transparency?
Speaking specifically about the commissioner's office and my experiences at city council meetings. For example, just last week, city council, with what seemed like a very short notice and almost pulled the rug out from under the citizens. They voted to increase our sewer and I know it's not water, but whatever sewer is paired with until 2032, every year, our sewer bill is going to go up by 5% every January until 2032. Now, the population, or Chesapeake, we really had no chance to do some research, to call city council to find out what was going on about that. So as far as transparency is concerned, my commitment is immediately upon election is to set up dedicated social media sites and dedicated website so that people can be aware of meetings and any sort of event, changes in tax codes, information that the office gets that I can share with people so that they can prepare and not feel so blindsided by city council when things like that happen. The city council is required to post information publicly, but my experience has been sometimes that only means that they tape a notice to the front of the registrar's office or something. That to me doesn't count as being transparent. That to me almost seems like, let's see how little we can do to keep folks in the dark, which I don't know if that's the intention or not, but as a citizen, especially somebody who's working class, I need to know when my bills are going to go up. I need to know when personal property taxes are going to be challenged or possibly increased. So rates will be increased. So my commitment for transparency is to make sure that the public is always aware of anything coming down the pike in Chesapeake that might impact them financially.
Which leads me to my next question. So what would a Commissioner Jennifer Naperala provide when it comes to city services in Chesapeake? I do note you have a different section on services. What would you like to add for the people of Chesapeake on a service basis?
Service, to me, is a really important component of an elected official. People who are elected into office have an obligation to the people who elected them. And one thing that I think the commissioner's office really needs to start doing, and that I am committed to do myself, is to provide services for the public. So rather than us hearing from the commissioner's office once a year with this big bill that I have 6 weeks to pay, and then that's it, I hear nothing else, what I would like to do is model our office in some ways after what the commissioner in Newport News is doing. What she does is she has a series of community programs or workshops for entrepreneurs and small business owners. They can come to these workshops and sit and learn about the process of filling out the application all the way through to submitting the paperwork. So it's not so incredibly cumbersome. The Chesapeake Commissioner's website is not up to date. It's not user friendly. You cannot pay bills on that website. So rather than asking people to come to the commissioner's office and give them a handout with information, I would like to offer workshops around the city at different Civic League meetings, by request, at different community centers, where we can focus on, the needs of seniors and their caregivers, changes to tax codes, open regular town hall meetings where people can come and ask questions about the office, what we do, how they can challenge their personal property tax bill. So rather than being an obligation, I want this office to be more of a service. Yes, we all have to pay taxes, but we all also need to reap some reward from it. And we need to know that the government is more than just taking our money, for lack of a better term. So the services, I imagine, are also related to what the commissioner does. Financial literacy, especially now during this time that we're coming up on, retirement planning, savings, so forth and so on. There's so much more that our office could be providing to the citizens that will take away some of the sting of that obligation when the obligations come up.
Which leads me to my next curiosity regarding your campaign, because we are in a time of pretty high costs. So what would a Chesapeake look like with you in your office when it comes to relief for the public? Because you do have a section here on relief.
Yes. Relief, rather than making any kind of ridiculous pie in the sky promises that I know I can't deliver on, especially right now, I imagine relief in the form of, I've already spoken to the Democratic candidate for treasurer, and she is 100% on board with this idea. Rather than sending these personal property tax bills that are just this one lump sum and the recipient is obligated to pay it in full within the next 4 weeks, we imagine transforming that obligation into breaking it up over, maybe you could have 3 payments, have it, anything that will take some of that immediate pressure off of the person who is getting those bills. For small business owners, Virginia, so a small business owner pays $50 for their license. And then if their gross receipts are over $100,000, then to renew the business license, it's a percentage of their gross receipts rather than that $50. If you remain under $50, under $100,000 in gross receipts, then you just pay $50. However, Virginia Beach is able to allow their small businesses to earn $200,000 in gross receipts before they have to pay an additional fee. They pay the $50 a year, those small business owners, until their gross receipts total $200,000. So I would love to explore something along those lines to provide relief for our small business owners, to incentivize them to stay here or to open up here. And finally, so I have this pie in the sky dream, but it is fixated in my brain and I'm going to pursue it. At the Fed level, we pay a progressive tax rate when it's income tax time. So I make $70,000 a year as a teacher. My income tax or my federal taxes are not as high as they are for somebody who makes double what I make. In the state of Virginia, we have what they call a progressive tax rate. However, $50,000 or $55,000 is the top of that. So me, with my $70,000 income, I'm paying the same amount of taxes as, say, Jeff Bezos, who decides to build a gigantic, mega mansion up in Northern Virginia. We both pay the same amount. So I would like to lobby at the state level for a more realistic, progressive income tax rate for those of us who live in Virginia and work in Virginia.
Well, that leads me to the end of my curiosities of your campaign when it comes to the policies you would like to do. So I'm going to just encourage folks now to get on to JenniferKnapp.com in order to learn about Jennifer, possibly donate to Jennifer, because I just realized it has a link to your Act Blue.
That would be great.
And then some affiliations advocacy on the web, which leads me to curiosity here. What's the best way to learn more about you, follow up with you? What should we follow? What should we like?
I'm on Instagram, Jennifer Knapp for Chesapeake. I'm on Facebook, I believe Jennifer Naperala for Chesapeake Commissioner of Revenue, and my website, which is jenniferknapp.com. My email, if anybody has any kind of question for me, feel free to reach out to jennifer@jenniferknapp.com. The more people ask me questions, the stronger I get, the more I'm able to hone in on what people care about. So I encourage people to ask me questions because I want to learn what it is that will help most in this position for people.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. So now, how about some just cool Chesapeake stuff? I don't get as much guests from Chesapeake on as I would like, so I'm glad to have you on. So I'm curious. Let's lead with some stuff that you like about Chesapeake. If I understand, you moved to Chesapeake, not from Chesapeake.
Correct. I was born and raised right outside of D.C., and then the Navy brought me to Little Creek, but my now ex-husband and I moved to Chesapeake because that's where I was going to be working. So I've been here ever since. And what I love about Chesapeake is that it's small enough despite the sprawl,
Mhm.
when you're in a community, those communities are generally pretty tight and pretty accommodating. And I just, the more I meet people and the more I work with different people, the more I love being here, because there are people who are so passionate about bringing positive change to this city. And I, the energy this year is real. It's electric. People feel that the tides are turning, I think, in the favor of the working class. So it's just a fantastic time to be here.
And that's given me echoes of the recent winner of the primary in the New York City race for mayor.
Yeah.
There is a strong working class movement. In Virginia, I think there's just a strong, dare I say it, anti-red movement at the moment. But to my understanding of Chesapeake, there's still a rather large red populace that is in that. And you will be serving as commissioner every Chesapeake citizen. So it's not like you're going to be playing favorites. But it is what it is. So if they're of the opinion that you're not serving their best interest, they might not vote for you or something like that, which is they should be watching this, should be learning how much that you'll be able to help them regardless of political party. And I think you might be able to have a good turnout for that. And now I'm curious, what are the things you've noticed the most that has changed in Chesapeake since you moved here?
I'm not sure how much of it is change and how much of it is just me becoming more and more active in the community. However, as a teacher, we hear so much about indoctrination, and we hear so much about the negatives about what teachers are doing in the classroom. And I am pretty visible in the community with my activities. And I have not had a single problem with any parent accusing me of trying to indoctrinate their kids. I've never had a problem with any parent trying to push back on my lessons. So I do think that there a lot of, well, I don't know about a lot, but some of the accusations are overblown, because I certainly could be considered a lightning rod for bad press for teachers, but I do my job and I stay between the lines, and I would never cross those lines. And I have never had a single problem with a parent, and many of them are aware of my activism outside of the classroom. So I think sometimes people get a harder rap than they deserve. A lot of our struggle, Chesapeake as a city has voted for the president as a Democrat the last several elections. The local level is where we've been struggling. And I think over the last couple of years, the Democratic Party has made some really great strides in being more attentive to the citizens than maybe they have been in the past. So I just, and the more I meet people, honestly, people are just ready to jump in and help and work. So it's just phenomenal.
I'll notice that that's a very similar thing when it comes to the city of Virginia Beach. They have often gone for the president in a Democratic way, and then it just sort of fizzles and then flips immediately to Republicans when it comes to the municipal offices. So that comes down to, I guess, the ability to organize very well. So it would be encouraging to see, as someone who is more to the progressive side, that Chesapeake Democrats get larger and more influential in being able to turn out voters who might not have voted for anything besides the president or a senator or a governor, because this is a very big election, not just for your office of Commissioner of the Revenue of the City of Chesapeake, but the governor of Virginia is right there on the top. So we're going to get people coming out this year. So I do hope that there's a great turnout, not only in my city of Portsmouth, your city of Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, all of that.
I agree.
Now I'm curious. So what's like your favorite hangouts and restaurants and stuff that are in Chesapeake?
Well, I have to say my favorite restaurant because, well, I don't know how to pronounce it. El Gran Rodeo, I think. It's right next to the Target in Edinburgh. They are my family's go-to restaurant, and it has been for years. And that is where I'm having my retirement party whenever I retire from working because it's been such an integral part of our lives. So that's a fantastic restaurant. The staff is awesome. Everything's great about it. Chesapeake Jazzercise, Lauren Brown, the owner, she's amazing. Um, what are other good hangouts? I'm trying. Oh, Wine Styles. This is a new one on Battlefield Boulevard. The owner and operator is a former teacher and principal, and she's amazing. So we're starting to pop with some cool places out here.
And of course, there's also a good tradition for, say, state champions in high school football with Oscar Smith,
Yes.
stuff like that. So great stuff. Great stuff. I'm really glad I was able to have you on tonight.
I'm really grateful.
One thing
that
I have been able to do when I've had on some other guests who are running is just give them, like, say, a 3-minute or so elevator pitch, just about who they are, why they're running, and if the viewer watching right now was someone that you were knocking on their door, what would you say to them?
I think I would first just introduce myself. I think it's important that people recognize that, or at least I want people to understand that I, like most everyone else in Chesapeake, am a working class person. I'm born and raised into 2 union families. And I know what the value of hard work can produce. So with that work ethic, I would like to take that and apply it to the commissioner's office so that I can bring relief, service, and transparency to the folks who deserve to have it. It's what I'm running on. They're not complicated issues. I don't feel like any one of them is anything that isn't a completely reasonable ask for a citizen to expect out of any one of the government offices. So I hope that people will consider electing me so that I can provide that service, at least out of the Commissioner of Revenue's office. I understand how important our paychecks are. I understand how important budgeting is. I raised my 3 kids as a single mom, and not one of the 3 has any college debt. So, we've lived below our means and budgeted the heck out of our lives. And now we're seeing the benefits of it. That same mentality applied to Chesapeake will produce the same positive results. So I just hope that people recognize the benefit that someone like me can offer to this whole city.
Great stuff to hear. Again, I want to show my thanks to you, Jennifer Naperala. Again, candidate in Chesapeake for Commissioner of the Revenue.
Yes, sir.
For coming on tonight, just talking about yourself, what you want to do, what you've seen in Chesapeake, all that great stuff. It means a lot to me. I hope you enjoyed your time tonight, and I definitely see you around.
Great. Thank you so much, Conrad. It was really fun. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. Catch you
Take
next
care.
time. And for the SchezzWho viewer, learn about Jennifer Naperala. Share it around the people you know in Chesapeake so they can learn, because we're going to go into a very important election. She'll be on it in your Chesapeake ballot. Remember, Chesapeake's a fully at-large city, so everyone in Chesapeake will have the chance to vote for Jennifer Naperala for Commissioner of the Revenue. Look her up and be an informed voter. And of course, don't forget to see what it says right there. Like and subscribe and comment to the SchezzWho channel. Comment on this video. Like, of course, this video, and just share it around to people you know in Chesapeake. And you have a great evening.